Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50 plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I am a director on the board of the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College and a proud Nassau Community College graduate. Together, let's celebrate the successes of our alum and share stories that will inspire, uplift, and hopefully amuse you. Each week, I will introduce you to one of our alumni who will share their Nassau Community College experience and the secrets to their success after graduation. The Alumni Association has many upcoming events planned, and we are looking forward to many new and exciting events. And we are listed on the Nassau Community College Alumni Association pages on Facebook, Instagram, and our webpage. If you have any positive news you would like to share about alumni happenings, we would love to hear from you on our website at ncc.edu/alumni. Today, our distinguished alumni guest is Latifa Jones. Latifa is from Long Island, New York, and currently serves as the Parliamentarian on the Nassau Community College Alumni Board. Latifa studied business administration, then returned to earn a certificate in paralegal studies from Nassau Community College. Currently, she is pursuing her Juris Doctorate. Latifa is a leader, a learner, and is truly passionate about cultivating a world in which all individuals meet with success. Welcome to Lion Tales, Latifa Jones, class of 2020.
Yay!
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Great.
Thank you for allowing me to be on today. My decision on attending Nassau Community College was an easy decision. Nassau Community College was close to home. It was affordable. And when I took that leap and I joined, I stuck with Nassau Community, and then I returned again for my paralegal certificate, which was very beneficial to my career right now in legal studies. So Nassau Community College is definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made in attending there.
Yeah, it's great to hear that, because there are so many offerings here that when they send the coursework, the book home, the pamphlet, and I look through it and I say, "Ooh, that's so interesting." And I think it, as a student and a graduate, it gives you like opportunities to pursue. And one of my friends always said, anything that you can come back to, and if you have an interest in it and you can gain it, a certificate or some type of, extra advancement in your field, it's definitely worth it to do it. What were some of the favorite courses that you did have at Nassau when you were a student here?
I actually took a singing class. That was like one of my hobbies of mine. But one of the structured classes that I loved was business law. I took business law 1 and 2, and then I also took entrepreneurship. So it's kind of like those are a few of the favorite classes that I took there.
Yeah. And now with singing, we were talking about this really off the air too, that there are so many of our alum that are also have so many other varied hobbies and interests, singing, music. So it's so interesting to see that every time we speak to somebody, there's something related to music, art, or, business, or anything that might be out of their realm. So it's so amazing to see that people are, going forward and pursuing interests and hobbies as well, taking lessons and all of those things. And when it comes...
Yeah, I think that Nassau Community offers that too. So it's like after you do a study at one of the structured classes, you can also take, one of the arts classes as well. They give you that flexibility.
Yeah, I think it's so important to sort of have that well-rounded perspective, which I think that Nassau Community College students absolutely do have. And when we speak about some of our memorable professors, they, sometimes we remember their name and sometimes we can't remember their name, but they did leave the imprint on us. So who were some of your favorites from here?
A couple of my favorites were Professor Dean Holzman. Mm-hmm. He teaches law. He teaches Business Law 1 when I was attending. And then also Professor Sharon Fetter. She is amazing. She's funny. The way that she ties her life stories to the lesson actually help you remember. And she gave me like incredible life advice after I passed her class. So I will always remember her. If I might not remember her first name, I'll definitely remember her last name, because she definitely gave me some good advice regarding my career.
Yeah, I mean, it's really something that we were speaking about earlier, about support and guidance from leaders and mentors that are in your life, that they, you really do. I have a habit of kind of like really hanging on, people's words and thinking, wow, I hope that, I can sort of aspire to that level. And now, how does that help you in the current work that you're doing? When you did have advice given to you, and now you're able to move into that direction. How has that helped?
It was really, she pretty much, it was actually very funny advice. It's kind of personal. But the thing is that I did learn that you can't overwork yourself. Mm-hmm. So I did work in corporate, but I knew that I had to take a step back if I wanted to continue pursuing my Juris Doctorate. So currently I work in customer service. Mm-hmm. So I learned that, you got to promote sales. You have to have the right tone and then the right diction when you're handling with customers to earn their trust. And then, hopefully touch people as the days go on. So customer service, I believe, is very important and influential to, anyone that you're dealing with. So if anybody that does customer service and they're listening, your job is important as well.
Right. Yeah. Working with the public, I really feel, you see it too. I mean, you see how things are changing. There are kiosks and self-service checkout, and the human element is sort of to one side. And then there's this other side where people have to kind of do it themselves. And we still need to be kind of on site to, encourage customers to, buy the product and understand that they do have a purpose in that whole public relations piece. It's really something that I think, going back to now, your graduation was 2020, and, during this whole pandemic, how did that kind of impact your studies and, the quest to, earn that degree, and then also working in a customer service field where you see how people reacted during the pandemic? They definitely needed as much help as possible.
Oh, yeah. Well, I pretty much had to work from home, which what I do really translated well.
Yeah.
When it came to class, I was taking my very last class for my paralegal certificate in 2020. So when the lockdown happened, it was pretty much I had to just finish my class from home. I didn't graduate like how we normally did. Right. I didn't walk. I didn't even attend the online graduation because it didn't seem real at the time. It was very unexpected, the whole pandemic. And, you really do see how people changed with each other, especially wearing the masks and the social distancing, how inhumane people were becoming with each other.
Right.
And, the effects of social media by itself, we were already dealing with this as a society, but imagine social distancing with each other and people having to stay home for long periods of time without interaction with the large masses of the public. You do see how it affected the people,
Absolutely. And I think, when you look around, you go out and you say, you try not to be, you try to go with grace and dignity every day and not have that level of hostility, which is definitely out in the world where people have no patience at all, even with driving. And there's got to be a way to kind of, get it back, that just a little bit of kindness and niceness will spread, and people will realize that, there is good in all of it. And, now you're working as a paralegal. What exactly does a paralegal do, and what are some of your responsibilities in terms of that, prior to actually receiving your full law degree?
Oh, well, as a paralegal, you pretty much, you type all the documentation for the lawyer, and they oversee it. They tell you if everything's all fine, and then you submit it. But you can work from memos to actual calendaring work, actual court documentation, visiting the courthouses and the county clerk's office.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of working as a paralegal and interning through Nassau Community College. So through the paralegal program, they were able to place me with a law firm, and I worked there for some time before the pandemic, and it really gave me some life lessons as well, because, you can learn something in class, but until you get the life skills, it's really different. The research that I learned in class was very comparable to when I actually had to go out there inside and, go to the Supreme Court to pick up documents and motions for the law firm, and then also go into the county clerk's office to research documentation that we needed for cases. It was completely different.
Yeah. You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Latifa Jones, Nassau Community College class of 2020, the Parliamentarian for the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College, and a Juris Doctoral student. So when we're looking back now, what are some highlights of the law? We see all of these things on television now with, let's say, the January 6th, and we're hearing all different facets of law being thrown around, terminology, subpoenas, and what are some highlights that I guess the average person would need to know to understand legal ramifications and some things that, you can be sort of get some intelligence behind so that we speak it properly and we understand what we're talking about?
Okay. That's a really good question. A lot of people confuse justice for the law. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very, very important that the law is simply definitions of terms that you argue as an attorney. Mm-hmm. So if there is a statute within the New York State, right, there's elements to that statute. And so if someone was to break the law and what they have done, pretty much goes against that statute and the elements of that statute, then therefore you are held accountable for that statute. Mm-hmm. Yes, a lot of the people, the general public, do misconstrue different legal terms. That popularized slap that Will Smith did with Chris Rock, and they said it was assault. It was technically a battery. Assault is when there's like an apprehension to and hit, right? And then battery is the actual hitting of another individual, a forceful touching of another individual. People definitely need to do their due diligence when they are watching the news. Yeah. A lot of information can be misconstrued, and it's not just the actual news that you watch on TV, but it's the news that you're getting from social media and YouTube. These are not people that are doing, their due diligence and their, journalistic duties. A lot of journalists are supposed to dive deep into researching the topics that they're about to express to the public. And a lot of these YouTubers are not doing that. They're just doing it to get attention, and that's where people need to look beyond that.
Right. I mean, I've been, scrolling TikTok and seeing all these videos, and, there's a sense of non-reality. And I think that it can be damaging, especially for, people that are very impressionable, where I'm always sort of like, this doesn't really make any sense. How would you, how would you explain now studying and preparing for a law degree? What type of law would you like to pursue, and why?
I didn't have an area in mind when I began, because I know that they show you different areas throughout the years. But so far, I've been researching and studying towards criminal law and contract law, and I do have a natural attraction to contract law, real estate law. Like I really do. I have like a really good knack for the written English language. So that is the area that I am leaning towards at the moment.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. And I'm sure that, once you make that decision, do you have to decide exactly what type of lawyer you would be? Or like once you come out, once you have the degree and you have the credentials, you can really just go in whatever direction is basically your passion?
Yes. It's kind of like regular college. You know how a lot of the students, when they come to Nassau Community, they're not really knowledgeable as to what they want to do. So, they just pick a regular major, and then as time goes on, they're like, you know what, let me change my mind and let me go a different avenue. And then they find what's for them as the time goes on. That's pretty much how law school is. Yeah. They show you these different areas of study. If you want to go ahead and do an internship in this area, you can while you continue your studies. And then upon graduation, then that's where you can go in the avenue that you would like to go to.
Did Nassau inspire you to continue your education? Once you were done in 2020, what did you think? What were your plans there?
If it was up to me, I would get like another degree at Nassau Community College. But I was like, you know what? Let me just continue on working on other things. So I did go to SUNY Old Westbury.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I did stay in a SUNY family after Nassau Community.
Absolutely. And, I also went to SUNY Old Westbury after, and then I was just telling someone that I did go to Hofstra. What did you think about the coursework? I thought at Nassau it was very rigorous and it was very intense. And then when I graduated and I went to Old Westbury and I went to Hofstra, I felt that, I don't know if I was better prepared or it wasn't as challenging, but I kept thinking I would be intimidated by, I guess, the university setting as opposed to a community college setting. And what do you think about that? Did you find it more challenging or you were ready?
I think I found it more challenging. I did attend Baruch as well, mm-hmm. but I felt like the travel to Baruch pretty much took a lot of my energy. So leaving Long Island to, New York City and then attending class there. So that took a lot of my energy, but I did sense that it was harder there. Old Westbury was much, much closer. Right. So when I attended there, it wasn't as adapting to their environment, but I did notice that there is a difference. There's a magic at Nassau Community College. It's something, I think it's the staff, and it's the faculty, it's the big campus. It's something that it feels like home. And actually, sometimes I go there to still study.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I love, walking around the campus and I always feel at home here. There was something here that makes me feel like confident and comfortable. What keeps you motivated?
My responsibilities, my promises to myself. Many years ago, I had a talk with my mom about, finishing what you started. And that's just something, even though that there's times where I'm just too tired, I have to finish what I started. So that's what keeps me motivated primarily.
Yeah, I feel that too. If I start something, I really do want to finish, even if it's something that's 6 weeks long. You know that there's an end in sight. And I think that even when you're raising children or working with, young children, that you always say to them, well, if you don't like it, complete it up until that point, and then you can decide, whether or not it's for you. But I do feel that, that pursuit may be worth it. And it's always good to, finish those, once you open a task and you're ready to complete it. Because also as females, as a woman now, you're pursuing your law degree. What are some of the challenges that you feel you're faced with? You know what?
I'm blessed to not have children at this time. I would like to have some in the future, but a lot of my classmates who already have like a family dynamic or single mothers, I do see the struggle of having to work, school and then still, be a mother to children, I do see a big difference, how they're pulled away from their studies because of their responsibilities. Also, I have seen, I had an older woman in my class being called old. People using wheelchair references regarding her. And it was funny because there's older men in my class and they don't get that kind of pushback. So, there is an element of ageism too when it comes to women, like how, when we don't have nothing to offer after a certain age, I believe we age ain't nothing but a number.
Right.
That metaphor.
It's interesting. Yeah, I saw a man in front of me and I heard him say his birthday and I heard him say 9/20/29 and I thought, oh my God, you would never, you couldn't tell by looking at him, and he was standing at the counter and he was getting everything that he needed, and who are we to judge the age group? You just can't, because someone could be graduating with us and they could be 80 years old, and that's just that was their time.
Yeah. I don't want to say she was 80 years old, but she did have like a white hair, but she, she actually was very, very competent and a very sweet lady, but that happens. So in me pursuing law, I do see the struggles that women go through, and I have seen ageism, but hopefully, people will change that as time goes on.
You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Latifa Jones, Nassau Community College class of 2020, the Parliamentarian for the Alumni Association, and a Juris Doctorate student. What's so interesting, too, is that we interviewed Dr. Langdon, and she's the new Vice President of Academic Affairs, and she was speaking about the fact that she really saw the Alumni Association as really well done, and she was very impressed by that. And, now as the parliamentarian, what are some of your goals for the Alumni Association? Because we always say, what does the parliamentarian do? But now we know.
That's so funny, because at first I didn't even know what that was. So I got the letter in the mail and I was like, you know what? Let me put myself out there. And I requested to become secretary. Yeah. But then when I got the letter back and I started receiving emails, I was placed for parliamentarian. So I had to do some research, and I'm like, oh, okay. So this is kind of like my job will be to just oversee the structure of the meeting. Okay. So the president is the one that sits at the very top of the table, but my job is just to make sure everybody is orderly and that the meetings it just goes by smoothly. And then also to overview the contracts and the documentation. So that goes with what I'm currently studying. And I do work alongside the president, the vice president, and the secretary.
Yeah, very good. And I think we do make some strides in the Alumni Association in making sure that people come back. Sometimes you could be standing in line with someone and they say, oh, I went to Nassau. So that's how, we even have guests on our show like accidentally, and people will say, oh, I know someone who went to Nassau. And the Alumni Association has done some really incredible work over the years. And even though we kind of, hit a little bit of a bump because of the pandemic, I think that we're back in action.
Yes.
Now, balancing the career and full schoolwork, how are you dealing with that, and what are some things you do to relax and unwind a little bit?
Well, I keep a very strict calendar. So I have a study schedule, I have my work schedule, and then I have my time to relax schedule. I have like a specific day a week where I don't do nothing class-related, work-related. I make sure I watch funny programs on TV, make sure I laugh a lot, and then I always try to schedule some type of vacation. So this past summer, I went on vacation and had fun. So when the school semester began, I was refreshed.
Yeah, that's great. Because, I think that we do so much like on a day-to-day basis, and then you kind of feel guilty if you're sitting. And
Yes.
I don't want to feel that feeling. I can't be busy every single day. And even though I am to a point, if I'm sitting, I sort of feel like, oh my God, I have to get up. I have to do this. I have to do that. And there's got to be a way for us to kind of like refunction or, declutter our mind a little bit, to say that it's okay that we have that time to relax and unwind. And I believe in keeping a calendar. I do that, and I'll write down what I did on that day. Even if I, visited my father-in-law, or I went to, some to the shop or whatever it was, just to keep track of that. And
actually, I do that too, but I don't want to sound too type A.
Yeah.
But I do add those things to my calendar just so I know in the future that, okay, I do need to give this specific family member more quality time.
Yeah, and I kind of do it like a diary a little bit. In the little box, I have the calendar on the refrigerator, but I'll have a little box and it'll say, whatever today was. Like today was Lion Tail, so I wrote that down. And then I'll look back. I kept a binder during the pandemic too of all the calendars that I created. I put stickers on them and I was coloring them and, decorating them.
Yeah.
And now, who knows? It'll be some type of, archive in the end, because we survived all that.
Yes.
So
the pandemic really did change my study schedule, the way I look at work. I used to work in corporate, and I used to grind.
Right.
From running, I would go to the gym, then get dressed and go to work earlier than my other coworkers, stay later than my other coworkers, and by the time I'm home and eating my dinner, I'm exhausted, where I don't have energy for myself.
Right. And
that's when I realized, people really need to take time for themselves. You need to balance all of that and make time for you, your family. It's not just for your mental health, but to prevent burnout.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, the pandemic, it just stopped the world. And maybe it was a sign to tell us, wait a second, we need to really back up, and health and safety have to come first before we can really do anything else. What are your goals now upon completion of this degree? What will you do moving forward? And what's your anticipated end date for your degree?
Well, I do have quite some time left.
Yeah.
I'm in my first year. So it would be in 2026. Mm-hmm. My plan is to work for a prestigious law firm, and then after that, build my own. Wow. So that is the goal.
Yeah, amazing. So I would like to thank our guest, Latifa Jones, class of 2020. How can our listeners contact you?
Oh, feel free to email me, missljonesy@gmail.com, MSLJONESY@gmail.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, or just simply email me and I will respond.
I would like to thank you for being our guest today. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien. I serve as a director on the board of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I am a proud Nassau Community College alum. Visit nassauncc.edu/alumni for more information about the Alumni Association, and visit nccradio.org for more information about Lion Tales, including podcasts of past shows. Thanks for listening to Lion Tales here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.